Philippians chapter number 3, verse number 14, the famous words of Rav Shaul is, I press on toward the goal for the prize of the high calling of Elohim and Messiah Yeshua. What we're not reading here is the numerous times that Rav Shaul had problematic relationships and trying circumstances that could have shipwrecked him. He was shipwrecked several times, but he relationally was shipwrecked many times. He told Timothy, he said, Demas has forsaken me, having loved this present world. He and Barnabas had a falling out, and the scripture says it was a sharp disagreement between them. People can either help you or hurt you. We have relationships that we treasure, that we love, and we build on them because they help push us forward toward the mark, toward the prize. What do we do with those that are dead weights, heavy anchors, stumbling blocks, problematic relationships? How do we handle that? By the way, good morning. Hope you don't have any of those relationships today.
Oh, of course not. Never, never at all. So let me go with it like this. What would life be like if, life would be great if it wasn't for people. People complicate life. I look at my dog, and my dog goes to Kaya, she's just kind of like all the time bouncy. She's like this little Tigger dog. And she is like, I have no care in the world except feed me, take me for a walk, and whatever. Then you have people, and people can be challenging in life.
No.
The problem with life is people, but the blessing of life is people, because it's about, as we were talking about last week, relationships. And so, there's going to be relationships, Barry, that we must make a choice in of whether we continue in that relationship or have to kind of, as you alluded to a little bit, a relationship can anchor us. It can become an anchor in life that keeps us from moving forward. And Shaul understood that, I think. He understood that he had to separate himself. I mean, imagine after that infamous time on the road to Damascus, when he falls on the ground and he's taken to the street called Straight, and he gets his vision back and everything. Part of that vision was understanding what he had to leave behind in order to move forward. One of the keys in life is figuring out what to leave behind. It's kind of like, you travel. I've traveled extensively, and you guys go to Sukkot. You got that RV, and I know Laura well enough to know that Laura wants to kind of like take everything that's in the house and put it in the RV. You don't have to. I see the agreement in your face.
We're not finished packing until we run out of Walmart bags.
I know that. You've shown up at my house. There comes a time in which you have to say, no, that needs to be left behind. It is you remember the I Love Lucy show?
Oh yeah.
With the trailer?
I remember the one with the trailer, and I remember the one where the Mertz and the Ricardos were going to go out west, and they tied everything imaginable to the car. There was a spot like this to see out the windshield, and the baby carriages and conga drums and everything was tied to the car.
I actually remember that because around Thanksgiving every year when I was I was really young, early teen, late, even into my late single digit numbers, and in my teens, me and my grandfather and my grandmother, we would go to Gulf Hammock on the coast, the western coast of Florida, to around the area of Cedar Key, and we would be going over there to hunt. Me and my granddad and a couple of friends, and my granddad would borrow the neighbor's station wagon. You remember the old station wagon with the seats in the back and everything? And my grandmother we would start packing that thing. And my grandmother's, not the grandmother I always talk about, but my grandmother on my father's side, her famous statement to my grandfather about one more thing in the car was, Cody, I can hold it in my lap.
Yes.
If that woman had put everything in her lap that she had said she was going to put in her lap, she would have weighted herself through the seat and out the back and back through the floorboards.
Yeah.
At some point in time, we've got to look at things in our life, not just things, but also people in our life, and say, you're weighting me down from going where I want to go.
Mike, when Laura and I first started into this Hebraic Roots journey, almost 20 years ago now, we had a relationship that was beneficial and fruit bearing. After about a year, I added other mentors and so forth to this relationship, and that was viewed as what's the word? A lack of loyalty, disloyalty.
Mm-hmm.
And the original relationship became strained.
Yeah.
And so I recognized that, and Laura, true to her gifting, was encouraging me, you need to make a phone call. You need to make this right. You need to repair this. This is your fault. You did this. And someone's hurt and someone's feeling disenfranchised here. And so I went on the apology tour and tried to reconcile and restore a broken relationship. And it worked for a little less than another year.
Yeah.
And it came apparent to me, I can have this one relationship and it work to whatever level of fruit bearing and ability that's going to provide, or I can have multiple input from a larger group, and I can grow exponentially faster and with a wider perspective. What am I going to do? And as we're talking today, it wasn't a sin issue. It was a brokenness issue. Someone had personal issues of brokenness and previous hurt and feelings of abandonment and rejection from non-ministry things that had happened to them. And they, while wise and informative, if they couldn't be your only star, they didn't want to be in your constellation.
Yeah.
And I realized I had to let that go. And that was heartbreaking.
Yeah, it is. This is not easy. Cutting off relationships is not easy. But understanding that in a relationship, it's whatever baggage, and I love Dr. Zakina's thought of, when did my luggage become my baggage? I love that. Out of all the things Dr. Zakina has said, that's the one that's up on top for me. Whenever you travel with someone, let's say that, that you and I are going to do a speaking tour somewhere. We pack our luggage. We figure out which truck we're going to take, and we put our luggage in that truck. We also put our baggage in, because, when you go somewhere, maybe, I like this restaurant and you don't like this kind of food. So we got to go over here. And then, this is the way that I deal with hotel rooms, and this is the way you do. It's not just about us. You're traveling together with your luggage. You're traveling together with your baggage. And at some point in time, you may find that another person's baggage has loaded you down to the point that you can't get to your next destination. Now, the other side of that is when we start to figure out that, wait a minute, I need to deal with my own baggage in there, because maybe it's not their baggage that's the problem, maybe it's mine. I had years ago, we did a tour to Israel, and I had two ladies that roomed up together. They didn't know each other. It was a disaster, total disaster, because both of them were very me oriented. And I mean, the first morning I meet them at the breakfast table, they're both ticked off. You know, one of them got up jet lagged, middle of the night, turned on every light in the room and was, you know, reading, and I mean, just craziness. And I finally looked at both of them. I said, because the other one had issues, I finally looked at both of them and said, you're both wrong. You both have issues. You're both self-centered. And the problem you're together in this room is to figure out how selfish both of you are. Now go back and deal with it. They became very good friends by the end of the tour.
There is a, as you're describing that, Mike, a thought that's coming to mind is Rav Shaul saying, I press toward the mark for the prize. One might interpret that as saying, I will cut off whoever I need to cut off in order to do my ministry, because my ministry is more important than any person. I don't think that's what he was saying.
No.
I'm thinking that he's talking more about his individual aspiration of achieving the kingdom. Now, when it came to he and Barnabas, there was a relationship strain that was going to shipwreck their ministry opportunities. And rather than it prevent either one of them from ministering correctly, it was, you take him and go that way, and I'll take Silas and we'll go this way. Let's keep doing the ministry. We're just not going to be able to do it together.
Yeah.
Later on, Rav Shaul says, bring Mark or with you because he's profitable to me. There was a healing. Just because you can't walk with somebody right now doesn't mean that they're cut off forever. There could be a place and time where we mature, where we grow, where we work through our stuff, and time changes some things. And you might think, well, that relationship is gone, it's over, it'll never happen again. You never know. Sometimes things come full circle.
Well, in that aspect, Barry, the split was for the greater good.
Yeah, the message went to multiple directions.
Yeah. You know, not all the time is a split a bad thing, because if we go back to the book of Acts, we see that the Almighty has a very interesting mathematical equation for building his kingdom. The mathematical equation begins with subtraction, which produces addition, which then goes to multiplication. And you can go back and study that one. He first subtracted from the congregation. Then he added to, and then it said, and they were multiplied.
Mm.
So this subtraction, there's people, relationships, and people have come to me many times and said, you know, I feel like we're having I can't attend that congregation anymore. There's things that are happening. I said, okay, leave quietly. Here's leave quietly.
Mm.
You find a relationship that's deteriorating, leave quietly. And usually it's what, but no. Leave quietly, because you don't know if possibly this split, this fork in the road is the Almighty himself doing it for a greater good. And so when you come back together on the other end of this, you don't want to have a bunch of stuff you got to apologize for.
I've had folks come to me and say, you know, they're double dipping. they're coming to House of David, and they're also attending their local church congregation.
Mhm.
And numerous times it's happened where they came to me, and I never told them that they had to make a choice. Double dip all you want to, it's fine. Um, I've encouraged them, don't cause an uproar in your local church.
Mm.
But invariably, they would begin to see translational issues, doctrinal issues, questions, etc. And they would come to me, we're thinking about leaving our church altogether and just coming to House of David. My counsel has consistently been the same. Before you leave, make an appointment and go talk to your pastor and tell him where you're at, what's going on, and give him a chance to talk to you. Don't criticize him. Don't criticize your local church. And if you leave, you go out alone. Don't court anybody to go with you. Don't stand up and make an announcement. Well, we're leaving because we disagree. You slip away, but your pastor knows why. And he understands that you're not just walking off in an angry huff.
Mhm.
Don't burn the bridge behind you unnecessarily, like I have personally done.
Well, the thing is, when you burn bridges behind you, that means that somebody, if they want to try to get to the other shore, they have to build another bridge.
I'm the one that has to go back and start putting planks back in that bridge
Yeah.
by repenting and rebuilding a relationship in order for someone to get from where they are to where I'm at.
Yeah.
And, the burn the bridge policy that we came out because we were angry, it incensed at error doctrines, as we supposed, is bad. It's a bad policy. Now I know it. I didn't know it 20 years ago, unfortunately.
Yeah. But this aspect of relationships can become an anchor. You start to move forward from what we talked about last week, a toxic relationship, and this can be with someone that's not even alive anymore. I don't know how many people that I have counseled of, my father did this, my mother did this, my sibling did this, all of these things that happen in their life. And so as they're moving forward, they're kind of like a boat that has 5 anchors in the water, and they can't move forward. So finally they make a decision. You got to make a decision here. Okay, well, what do I do? Do I cut the rope, or I've got a better idea. Why don't I reel in all 5 anchors and put it in the boat? That'll do good. So you take all of those anchors and you put them in the boat and wonder why you can't move forward. Because again, your boat's weighted down too much by all the garbage of the past. There has to be a day that you just look at that rope and say, enough, cut it loose. I'm moving on. It's someone that you can't go talk to, a person in your life that hurt you in some way, and they've passed away. It's not possible. It's not possible to rectify that relationship. You got to cut yourself loose from it to move forward, or just bring it along with you and mess up somebody else's life. Because whatever anchor you bring with you in your boat, you're going to toss it to somebody else's boat, and now what have you done with their life? Don't be respectful of relationships enough to not bring your junk into it.
It's not always a negative situation, Mike. I remember sitting in my vehicle in the driveway on the phone with you.
Okay.
About a year after Dad had died. And maybe within the first year, I was just uh, trying to plow concrete. I wasn't getting anywhere.
Yeah.
And the problem I was having is that the esteem that I have for my father was creating an estimation so large of him that I felt like I can't. I'm trying to live up to his estimation, to his level, um, and I'm failing. And I'm failing not because of inability, but the grief that I was going through was a roadblock. I'm trying to measure up to him. I'm trying to be like him, but I'm hurting so bad I can't do anything. I'm
Mhm.
just meandering through and just dealing with a moment at a time. And you said to me, whoever said that you had to be your father? Your calling is not to be your dad. Those were hard words to hear, but they were true.
Mm.
So it was a very positive relationship, a very life giving relationship that was, and in effect, not negatively, but overly positively, an anchor. Sometimes, Mike, we have to understand this individual heroically or wonderfully or righteously lived their lives. They set a bar too high for me to reach. The overwhelming testimony of someone sometimes can also just be a weight, a bag too heavy to carry.
Mm.
And so I had to realize I will never be my dad, but that's not my calling.
Yeah.
He is a model of life and behavior and righteous walk that I hold in extreme esteem and seek to make my own mark. Dad had his path.
Yeah.
I have mine. And while there are parallel paths and many opportunities and situations, they're different. And I had to come to realization my honor and respect for my dad has become a problem for me in that it is so overwhelming. It's holding me back. It's overwhelming to me. It's too big.
What you're describing is the altar. Yeah, you're describing what we're describing is the altar in the tabernacle, which the every day had the sacrifices on it, but every day you had to take the ashes out. So those ashes were a representation of what happened yesterday on the altar, and there is the life. There's the death of the animal, which brings forth the life for us. So that altar is about this thing of death and life together, and those ashes represent both, but both had to be cleaned out.
Mhm.
So what you're describing to me is, that we can allow the negative things of our past to anchor us and hold us back. We can also allow the positive things. I mean, have you ever been, I know you have, because you've been around Pentecostal preachers for a while, ever been around a Pentecostal preacher that all they talked about was the glory days?
Yes, I was just thinking the exact same thing. Yes.
And I love to hear them. I mean, I love to hear those testimonies. I love to hear the stories of, I had good friends that were part of these revivals of the past, or had heard about them firsthand, and just sit down and listen to these people. But it would be like you and I coming on the program every week and talking about our Brownsville experience. That's all we did is, I'll remember when this happened at Brownsville. Remember what that, yeah, you can have both. Both can keep you in the past. So many preachers, old evangelists, they were the best at it and the worst at it, because you knew the stories. I could tell you some of those stories because I had heard them 100 times, and I wanted to hear them again. But after a while, they can keep you in the past instead of propelling you into the future.
We set too high a mark, and we fail to realize that what he has done is only a precursor of what he can do.
Isn't that the verse? I mean, it speaks of, you think the glory of this temple is something? In kind of literal terms, he said, you ain't seen nothing yet.
Right.
Just wait till you see what I'm going to do. What is in store? Wait till you see what's at the destination. And you're going to look back at these days and say, wow. And I got excited about that.
Jeremiah said in chapter 23, no longer be said, Yahweh Elohim, who brought us up out of the land of Mitzrayim. Yahweh Elohim has brought us from the corners of the earth, from the far ends of the earth. There is, as great as Yah has moved in the past, the best is yet to come, to use an overtaxed statement. If we tie ourselves to the past, we'll never reach the future. You got to cut the past at some point.
Mm-hmm.
If it's people, you love people, you pray for them, but sometimes you can't carry everyone with you. If it's failures, our personal failures of the past, we've all got a list. Every one of us. If anyone thinks, well, no one's messed up as bad as I have, well, look around. There's a plenty of folks standing around with you in line that they've messed up equally, if not worse. If it's finances, if it's health, if it's environment, I mean, it's a long list of things that can tie you down, hold you back, and be a negative anchor for you. At some point, Mike, we're going to do what's necessary. You get streamlined. Think about the pioneers. We think about them going out west, but even when they were pushing away from the East Coast and coming to the mountain ranges of the Alleghenies and the Smokies and the Appalachians, in order to get over to the other side of these eastern mountain ranges, they had to determine what's valuable enough that has to be taken and what can be left behind. I've seen numerous movies about those going out to Oregon or to California or some Western state, and the covered wagon is following in the ruts of the wagon in front of them. But along the way, there's grandma's dresser or an organ or some other heavy furniture item that they lighten the load by just leaving it out on the prairie. Why do they do that? Because the goal is more important than what they're carrying with them. And they realize I can either lighten the load and meet my destination, or we can sit here counting the value of that which is holding us back.
Well, people would go along that trail and say, wow, there's a treasure here along this trail. But it's only it would only be a treasure to those who are going nowhere.
So if someone else has cut something loose, why do you think you need to pick it up?
Yeah,
it's only going to hold you back too. They didn't make it. Well, I can carry it. No, you can't. Don't pick up other people's problems and think that that's going to help you.
Yeah, someone else's, what someone else decided was junk. They once thought it was a treasure, then they find out it's junk. So why are you going to make the same mistake and think it's a treasure again? It was holding them back, and they realized it. The difference between a treasure and trash is the realization of what that item is doing. Is that item taking us to our destination? Is it helping to propel us to our destination? If so, then it's a treasure. The wagon is a treasure because it's helping to propel us to the destination we want to go. Grandma's dresser is trash because it's keeping us from getting there.
The Native Americans who lived a nomadic life,
Oh yeah.
everything could be torn down and moved in a mobile fashion in a short period of time. When they looked at the junk that littered the prairie, they had to be scratching their heads and thinking, these are strange people.
Oh yeah.
That they would bring this stuff out here. Keeping your plow, that might be a valuable thing. Your sacks of seed, yeah, you might want to keep that. Heirlooms, maybe not so much.
Yeah.
Drive a nail into the wall and hang up your dress. You don't need it.
Yeah, you don't need two, dear. Or maybe two. Me and Kathy, as you know, me and Kathy have been known for moving quite a few times. Even since I've known you, we've moved from Florida to Colorado to Arizona to Oklahoma to North Carolina, and you're still sitting in the same house. One of the revelation that I get every time that we move is I'm stupid. Every time I start to, you start to pack and you go, I'm stupid because I made the same mistake again. I said when I had the last garage sale and made, buku money out of that garage, I'm never doing this again. We're not going to go to the next place and, and start putting stuff. Yeah, right. And then you start to move and you figure out, I did it again. I'm insane. At some point in time, though, there's going to be a day, and I'm not sure if I tend to have a feeling that we're going to be driven into a day very soon that you're going to have to make a decision, both in possessions and in relationships. What's the treasure and what's the trash? Wisdom is knowing which is which.
One word of caution before we end up. I don't want us to be taken to be saying, cut people off, cut them off quick, get rid of people. People need us. Broken people need us. People with needs need us. Just like when we're broken and have needs, we need others. Everybody goes through hurt. Everybody goes through issues where the weight of what you're going through is heavy for everyone around you. That's where the body is needed and where we have to function together. We're not advocating shooting the wounded.
No, not at all.
But when someone habitually refuses, long-term refuses to do anything but sidetrack you, weigh you down, pull you into meaningless garbage drama, the drama that people are willing to walk in, I don't have time for that.
No.
And, we recognize, we talked about it last week, relationships that have become toxic, poisonous, detrimental. They're sapping the life out of you. You love these people. You pray for them, but but you cannot carry them. And sometimes, as heartbreaking as it is, Mike, it's your own family members.
Yep.
We are not saying write them and say to them, our relationship is now over. I'll never speak to you again. Don't burn your bridge. But neither do you have to stand in the middle of the bridge and beg and plead for them to take the first step toward it.
Yeah.
It's keep the bridge open. And when they make the choice to start the journey across, then you can help them. But if you're always standing on the bridge, you'll never get to the other side of it yourself. Blaze a trail, create a path, pave a road, set up road signs, and keep going. And those that make up their mind to go with you, follow your example, walk with you, they will come. And those that want to stand and argue on the other side about their issues and their dramas and their stuff, the bridge is still open, but the choice is theirs.
Well, to put it all into, you just brought up one word that I'm going to tag, and probably you'll see this on Facebook somewhere. Make life a drama-free zone.
If at all possible, yeah. Give me credit at least one time, all right?
Maybe. You stole one from me the other day. You're supposed to give me credit for, so you owe me one.
All right, I owe you one. All right.
See ya.
Thank you for watching Foundations for Life. Please share on your social media pages. Leave your comments, ask your questions. We're delighted to receive them. Until next week, shalom.
Shalom, everyone.
All right.
We're still recording.
Is it still recording?